Hey guys, it's Miss Abby here for another fun craft. Today we're going to be making this Infinity Wars Spider-Man inspired Perler Bead box. As you can see, it has an empty side here. I'm going to be building that in the video, and there will be a top for it as well as the bottom, but you don't have to make the top. I'm just doing it for, got to keep the stuff inside safe. So you're going to need a couple of different colors of Perler beads. I went with a dark red, dark blue, and gold. And then you'll need this hexagon shape to make the perler beads on the top, and then the side panels are made on a regular perler bead pegboard. You're also going to need some parchment paper or something like that for your ironing, as well as obviously an iron. And then I have a pen because I used this really cool tool to create these designs so that I wouldn't have to do it off the top of my head. I used an app called Beads Creator, and it has a hexagon pattern in it, but then you have to kind of draw in the sides if you want to make it have the little notches for the pieces all to fit together. You can see on this one I had trial and error found out that I had added too many beads on this side, so that's why it's nice to have a pen, because then you can kind of correct yourself. So let's get started. First, we're going to start by making our bottom shape. So we've got our hexagonal shape here that I've already made one of, and I tried to make it look kind of like a cool spider web with some designs in it. And I've got my hexagon shape here. It's really important to use the hexagon shape because I've tried to do this on a regular pegboard, just a square one, and it was like almost impossible just because of the angles and things. So I could have done this in a different Spider-Man color, but I chose to go with the Infinity War one because I just really like his costume in that one with like the golds and the deeper blue and red. I thought that looked really cool, and I thought it would look nice as a box. Speeding up the building process here for you because, boy, this does take a little bit of time and patience because you have to follow your pattern. Now you could, if you wanted to, do really any Avenger this way. You could make a really excellent Captain America shield. You could make Thor's hammer. You could make Iron Man's face. You just kind of have to figure out what you want to do. So now that I've got the whole thing built, the way that we attach perler beads together, if you have never worked with perler beads before, is heat. I use parchment paper just because it's pretty easy to get. You don't need any special kind of paper for this. And a nice heated up iron. Make sure you ask your grown-up for help with this, or at least get their permission if they trust you to do this by yourself. I like to give it a nice pass over one side, and you can kind of see when it starts to stick to the paper like that it's melting, and that's when you're getting a really good melting effect where the beads are going to melt together because of that heat. I like to make sure that I see that they're all kind of making that transparency in the paper. And then once you do a good pass over that side and get it really nice and sticky, I don't like to go too hard because I do like it to still have the holes in it. I know some people don't like that look, but I do. Once you have them all good and stuck together, then I personally like to flip it over and also iron the opposite side. Just because then I feel like it's less likely to bend or crack. The firmer that you can make that piece by ironing it together, the better. So you can just flip it over. This is why I make my piece a little big, because then you can just kind of fold it back and iron on this side as well. When you have it all ironed out, because we're making something that needs the pieces to be flat, I really think it's important to weight it down while it's cooling. Otherwise it will curve a little bit as it's cooling off, just because air temperature is not really as warm as the temperature of the piece that you made. So I like to keep it pretty flat, either by putting something weighty on it, like putting the extra bins on it, or a gigantic book on top of it, while it's cooling. And then once it's nice and cool to the touch, then you can peel it off the paper and see, it stays together beautifully. Now, because of the way that the box is that we're making, we do need to add in those extra pieces that I showed you on the drawing there that I drew in by hand. So you kind of have to be careful. This is the putziest part of the whole process, because everything else is pretty smooth sailing, but this part can really take a little bit of time and energy, because you can't just add them on to the hexagonal board that you have. You kind of have to go in and like put it on top of the square board and line the pegs up again on there, and just, it's a little bit putzy, like I said. So I'm also going to speed that up for you, because it's not really fun to watch me struggle with this. I mean, maybe it is. Are you guys enjoying watching me struggle with this? Probably not. So on each corner, we're going to put 3 little perler beads and then iron those in place. And then right in the center of each side, we're going to put 5 beads across there. And then when we build our side pieces, we're going to kind of do the opposites on those ones, so that they can fit perfectly together like little notches. But again, you're going to iron as you go with these ones, that's why I said it's really putzy, because you kind of have to put your pieces on and then iron it, and then move the board a little bit and iron it again. But you really want to make sure those pieces get on there nice and securely, so that as you're trying to put it together, they don't, pop off, and then it doesn't have a tight fit anymore. So really take your time. And this is a part where if you want to ask a grown-up for help, I don't blame you. In fact, I asked my 9-year-old daughter for help, because she is really good at perler beads, and she helped me figure this part out too. So I'm just kind of lining this up so that I can see exactly where on the board I'm going to need to put my perler beads. It's about 5 pegs or over that you're going to start your 5 pegs, because across on each side there are 16 spaces. And iron those ones in place. And as we're going, think about, this is kind of a nice time to think about, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? I've always thought it would be really cool to have like Wolverine's healing power, just because, you could always get better even if you were sick or anything. But also, I don't know, I would really like to fly. So out of all the Avengers, if I could be any of them, I would probably pick the Scarlet Witch. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to speed this one up so you don't have to watch me do every single side of it. As we finish up our last side, we're going to want to give the whole thing one more nice iron and weight it down so that it dries and hardens nice and flat. And you can see it is identical to our top piece, and it'll fit perfectly with all of the side pieces that we are making. let's get started on those. I have my side piece design that I made in that Pixel app, and 5 of the pieces are already made by moi. They have notches that are opposite on each side, but we need 6 of them to fit perfectly around the box. As you can see, I did some trial and error on these because when I first made them, they were a little bit too large. And so I used my pen to kind of mark off the ones that we didn't need. I'll speed this up for you too. Once we have that all put together, we can iron this too. So place your parchment paper down on top and grab your iron. Watch your fingers, obviously, and give it a nice couple passes. Don't let it stay too long in any one spot because then it'll melt the beads just a little bit too much. And you want it to be nice and even so that it dries flat and perfect. Flip it over and flip that parchment paper. Then you can iron the top of that one as well so that both sides are melted and conjoined and cohesive and ready to be assembled as a full box. And again, remember to weight that down so that it dries flat. We're going to check it out and see how it dried. Perfecto. We have all of our pieces ready and raring to go. We have our 6 side pieces, our top and bottom, and Avengers assemble. This part is a little putsy too. You are welcome to either try to melt the pieces together or honestly glue them, use hot glue, because otherwise they might not stay perfectly together. I would definitely say hot glue is probably the best option. But once you have all the bottom pieces on, then that top one just kind of slides right into place. You can put whatever you want inside this box except for liquids because it is porous. And we're all done.